Reviving communities.
The views expressed on this program do not necessarily represent those of Revive FM or its management.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to Revive FM 94.1 FM dial. Today with me, Ali Kamara, the Muslim poet. We have a special guest on the show today. We have Danny Simmons Jr., who is neo-African abstract expressionist painter and a published author and a philanthropist. He is also the older brother of hip-hop impresario Russell Simmons and rapper Joseph Simmons, Reverend Run. Danny, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me on.
How are you, Danny?
I'm all right. A little bored with being with this coronavirus. I was listening to you talk about it over there, that it was receding, and it seems to be increasing over here. So I'm spent a lot of time home, but thank God I paint and write, so I'm able to keep myself motivated. But it's pretty bad around here.
Fantastic. Danny, I heard that during the lockdown, you get to do a lot of painting during the lockdown. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I was painting a lot, but I have an art gallery and that's closed now, and a lot of the institutions that I work with are closed now. So I had a lot more time, and seeing as I wasn't going nowhere, so I figured I'd use the time to create a whole new body of work.
Fantastic. How long does it take you normally to create a work of art?
Oh, it really that's a hard question to ask, because there's no standard answer. There's a lot of different things, how complex the painting is, how much you're putting into it. You can create a painting with a few lines, or you can spend like weeks on doing, and also the size. But I would average about 3 or 4 days, and then I sit and look at it for a while.
Right.
And then I go back to it and I do this to it. So, I would say I was creating a painting once every 2 weeks here, right. But it doesn't really take that long, but there's a lot of staring at it going on in there.
I see. So what's the difference between abstract painting and a normal painting for those people that don't know about art itself, like myself?
Well, abstract is a normal painting.
Oh, it is a normal painting.
No, I'm just messing with you. Figurative painting is figurative painting. You're really at one level copying or representing something you've seen.
Right.
And I think abstract paintings, you're representing something you're feeling. I think that that would be the best way I would put it.
Right. Brilliant. I know that you was born in New York, Queens, in Hollis, Queens. What was it like growing up in Hollis, Queens?
Well, Hollis, I didn't get to Hollis till I was about 12 or 13. It was a whole new experience. I grew up in another part of Queens called Jamaica, which was less dense. We had woods and wildlife when I was growing up. But when I got to be about 12, we moved to Hollis, and it was a little more urban. So, by the time, and at that age, we started to do things that was, more than childhood things. We were going to parties, we were dancing, we were this and that. So that was kind of cool. We got involved in a lot of politics at the time, because it was the late 60s, early 70s.
I see.
But Hollis got caught up in the heroin drug epidemic of the 70s and the 60s. Right. And so a lot of kids my age, including myself, really got caught up on drugs, and some made it out and some didn't. Right. I started getting high with my friends in Hollis when I was about 14, and stopped getting high when I was 37.
Wow.
So I had a good run.
What made you stop?
The destruction of my life. I managed to hold my life together most of that time. I went to college, I went to grad school, I owned homes, cars, got married. But at some point, in my mid-30s or early 30s, it started coming apart. After all those years, it started becoming unraveled. What I think the shift was, the most important thing to me was getting high. High became more important than anything else.
Wow.
And so, my day started out trying to figure out how to get high, and ended getting high and waking up again. And so, and then I squoze the rest of my life in the middle. And I would pay my mortgage on my house after I got high. I would pay the bills after I got high. So everything had become secondary to that. And at some point, I went to my brother Russell. He was actually, this was back early in the early 90s, and he was giving a party for Madonna somewhere.
Yeah.
And I just walked into the party and said, hey, man, I got to go into rehab because one, it was sort of a ploy because I was about to lose my house because I hadn't paid the mortgage in 3 months. And so I was like, Russell, pay my mortgage so I don't lose the house. And the second, and along with that, I knew I had to do something or he wouldn't have paid the mortgage.
All right.
He was like, because Russell had been talking, you got to stop getting high. He had been on that for 2 years or 3 years. And I was like, I can handle this. I can handle it. So it was a big step for me at that point. I was 37 years old for me to admit that this is out of control. I can't handle it and I need help. And so, him and an employee that was the president of Def Jam found a rehab for me, and I went into rehab. And then eventually along that, I came out, went to aftercare, and then eventually I became a counselor because I had a degree in social work already. So I became a counselor and started helping other people, and helping other people helps you to help yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I did that for about 5 years. And what I did was really replace drugs with art. Even though I was doing a little art, but art sort of became my new drug.
Fantastic.
Painting and collecting art.
Brilliant. I mean, it's great that you can actually talk about it and reflect on it and realize that that you had to put that to bed at that age, or else, like you said, it probably would have been the end of you.
Listen, it was around the time that the AIDS crisis started really blowing up in the drug use community. I probably wouldn't have fallen victim because I wasn't an intravenous user, but a lot of my friends started dying. I mean, I can count on my hands the number of friends I still have left from my childhood. So,
wow. I also know that your father was an African American history professor.
Yes, he was. He taught it. Well, that was his night job. He taught African American history at Pace University when I was a young teen, and I used to go to class and sneak in. And I was in a lot of revolutionary organizations at the time, and I was protesting, so I would go in and talk about what it was like to be a young Black man involved in the civil rights movement protests. My father was an amazing man. I was 6 and Russell was 2. He would have us out at demonstrations with him, walking the line and carrying signs and singing picket songs. And he used to impress upon us at a very early age how important it was that we recognize our history, give back to people less fortunate than us. So he was a huge influence on my life.
Fantastic. And I also know that your mother was
I can't hear you anymore for some reason.
I also know that your mother was a poet as well.
Excuse me, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can't hear me?
I can't hear you. You just went mute for some reason. Yeah, I can hear you, but it's like really low. Let me see if I can adjust my volume or something. My volume's up. Say something.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but not very well. Did something happen on your end? Because I haven't done anything.
All right. What we're gonna do, Danny? We're gonna go on a quick break because I think there's something wrong with your mic and maybe my mic. We're going to quick break. We'll be back in 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
On your FM dial, Ali Kamara, Muslim Club. We have Danny Simmons in the studio live from the USA.
Nitro Treats, the dessert lab where your treats are formulated before your very eyes. Keep cool with our flavored shaved ice, or chill out with our exclusive Dragon Breath Nitro ice creams. Experiment with our selection of mojitos, or indulge in our traditional faludas or lassies. Visit Nitro Treats at 210 Ilford Lane, where our nitrologists remain ready to serve. Nitro Treats, it's nitrolicious.
मिनहाज वेलफेयर फाउंडेशन में आपका अतिया जिंदगी की उम्मीद आपकी मदद से मुमकिन हुआ। दुनिया भर में 30 लाख से ज्यादा खवातीन, बुजुर्गों और बच्चों तक साफ पानी की फ्राहमी, मुतासरा इलाकों में हंगामी इमदाद, यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चों की दादरसी। इस साल हम आपके ताउन से और आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। अपनी ज़कात, सदकात और खैरात के जरिए इन मंसूबों का हिस्सा बनिए। अभी कॉल कीजिए 0300 3030 777 या हमारी वेबसाइट विजिट करें www.minhajwelfare.org।
Rosia Plumbing, the boiler specialists. We do new boiler installations, full house central heating systems, underfloor heating, boiler repairs, boiler servicing, and gas safety certification for landlords. With some of the best prices in town, there's no job too big or too small for our qualified engineers. For a free, no obligation quote, contact us now on 07956 282 948. Rosia Plumbing, the boiler specialists.
Nikah, talaq, counseling on matrimonial disputes, Islamic wills, Islamic law of inheritance, or an Islamic verdict on any other issue. The Muslim Sharia Council is at your service. We provide official certification, and our experienced and highly qualified imams are available to provide you with guidance when needed. MQI London is based at 292 to 296 Romford Road, Forest Gate. We are open from Monday to Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. Or alternatively, call us now on 0208 257 1786.
Super Best Meze Grill, the Turkish restaurant where all our food is prepared to perfection. Our mixed grill family platters include lamb shish, Adana kebab, lamb ribs, chicken doner, chicken wings and lamb chops. And all are served with rice, salad, along with a selection of our cold mezes. To see our full menu, go to superbestmezegrill.co.uk. For the perfect dining setting, visit us now at 21 to 23 Broadway, Stratford, E15 4B, or call 0208 555 335. Super Best Meze Grill.
कोविड-19 की नई तब्दील शुदा किस्म बहुत तेजी से फैल रही है। कोविड-19 से मुतासरा हर 3 अफराद में से एक में अलामात जाहिर नहीं होती हैं, लेकिन इनसे वायरस फैलता है, जो दूसरों की जिंदगियों को खतरे में डालेगा और NHS पर फिर से दबाव बढ़ सकता है। वैक्सीन मुस्तकबिल की एक बड़ी उम्मीद है, लेकिन मुतासरीन की बढ़ती हुई तादाद को अभी से रोकना है। एक मर्तबा फिर हमें घरों पर रहना है, लेकिन अगर बाहर जाना मजबूरी है तो याद रखिए, हाथ धोएं, चेहरे को मास्क से ढांपें और दूसरों से फासला रखें। अपने घरों, NHS को और अपनी जिंदगी को महफूज रखें।
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk or contact our sales team now on 07944 565616. That's 07944 565616. Advertise with Revive FM.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
on your mobile.
And online.
Hey, Danny, welcome back to the show.
I had to step off for a second. There was some noise in the background. I had to stop. But I don't know if that was part of our problem. Hold on.
No worries. No worries.
Let's try this again. Say a couple of good things.
Yeah, it's live and direct now. Danny, I know that your mother, Evelyn, was a teacher as well.
Yeah, my mother she taught elementary school, preschool art classes. She really ran the local big park in the neighborhood, and part of what she did was teach little kids art. And basically, that's how I got my thought in art. She would teach me along with the rest of the kids.
Yeah, I was reading someone that you actually learned from her. So what was it having parents? How was it for you having parents that were like, academics and creatives? How did that impact your life today when you look back now?
I think that they had a broader perspective on life, and allowed us to try different things. And, my father was a little more traditional than my mother. My mother was the only child. And so she was sort of the type of person who like, go do what you want and try to be who you want. And my father was like, go to school, get a job, get a mortgage, get a pension. My mother was, you can be anything you want to be. So between the two of them,
moms are like that though.
We had great upbringing. I do remember my father was very concerned about Russell in this music thing, and Joey and Reverend Run. He's like, and his name is Joey. They're like, that's not going to last for long. You're going to have to finish school and you're going to have to do this. At least Daddy got a degree. He can always go get a job.
I mean, I think parents are always like they always look at the academic side of things and be like, if you get a degree or you get a master's, everything's going to be like set. But but they don't always know that on the creative side, there's so much more that you can be as well as a creative individual. And they always think that, okay, if you get these certificates, you're guaranteed a job and you're guaranteed an income. Obviously, today we know that it's not 100% like that, but that's how parents always think.
No, and and that's what worked for them, and that's really what worked for them. My father grew up poor. My mother grew up a little more middle class, but my father grew up poor. And the way he got out of poverty was after he got out the army paid for him to go to college, and then he went to graduate school. And so he was very, very adamant about how education can solidify your life. And he actually worked with Romare Bearden, who was a social worker and a great African-American artist. And Romare Bearden was a social worker, and they used to sit next to each other. And so he used to throw Romare Bearden up on my face. Well, Romare Bearden used to paint and still had a job. There's no reason for you to quit your job. And I was like, yes, there is.
Your dad sounds like a character. Sounds like a character. Sounds a bit like my dad. Some my dad would have said something like that. Would you love your work has been shown in like Manhattan Bank, Chase Manhattan Bank, African American museums. I know that some of your work has been shown in Ghana as well and stuff like that.
It's been shown. I've shown work in Amsterdam, in France, in Ghana, internationally, all over the United States in different museums. I have work collected by the U.S. State Department, it's in the embassy in Suriname. I have work at the Smithsonian, African American Smithsonian, the Brooklyn Museum, several other museums. I've been painting for a long time. I've been painting for like 30 years. So, I got a lot more to do, but, I've been well received over that time, especially since I spent half my time running art galleries and trying to create opportunities to others. I didn't concentrate solely on my art career. I concentrated on the arts larger because I knew that we needed a place and places that we could show our work. And the reason I started in that vein was because when I left to go, went out to go show my work, nobody was responding. And in Soho, which is where all the art was at the time, there weren't any Black artists that I could see, maybe one or two. I know Basquiat was down there and a few other artists, but generally, most Black artists didn't have any place that they could take their work.
Fantastic. So in 2015, you moved to Philly and you opened the Rush Arts Gallery. Tell us about that.
I had been coming to Philly. I had a big show at the African American Museum here. And at that show, I started coming back and forth a lot to Philadelphia. And when I started to love the town, I was a little tired of Brooklyn. I had done most of what I could do in Brooklyn. I had been on 9 different boards of directors. We had a gallery there. We had a gallery in Manhattan. And I was busy, but I was bored because I was re-going over my steps again and again and again. And it was good stuff, but I wanted to do new stuff. And so I looked at Philadelphia and I said, well, maybe I'll move there. And so I did. I just one day I made the decision, I'm going to move. I thought about Detroit. I thought about a number of other American cities. But Philly was close enough to New York to be a different place, but not that far. Philly is often called the sixth borough of New York City. So, it's 2 hours down the road. So it made it easier to make that move, knowing I wouldn't be that far away.
Philadelphia, fantastic. Danny, also, you have 2 degrees. You have an honorary degree. Tell us about the honorary degree.
I went for graduate school for finance, for public finance. I went to graduate school at Long Island University. And over the years, I had done different things with the university through arts. And I guess I was a well-known figure in Brooklyn arts. I was on the Brooklyn Museum's board of directors. I was on the Brooklyn Academy Music's board of directors. I was on the Brooklyn Public Library's board of directors, the Brooklyn Philharmonic board of directors, and several other things throughout that time. So I was very well known. And so when they were giving out honorary PhDs, and they gave me mine in the arts because I was well known for what I did in the arts, they were like, well, let's give one to Danny. And so the borough president, and it was my alma mater. So, for graduate school, so the borough president bestowed it upon me in a big thing in a baseball field, Brooklyn baseball field. And, it was great. I mean, I've never walked around calling myself Dr. Danny or anything, but, it's a nice thing to put on your resume.
And you also have a degree in finance as well, a master's, right?
Well, yeah, my master's is in finance, and that was a good thing because it helped me to figure out how to create the organization that I created, and also to understand budgeting and how budgets play out in the real world, not just about money, but how budgets relate to services. So, it allowed me to figure out how to allocate money. When I get money, I'll allocate it to this and that and the other. My education, even though it was geared towards the social work, it served me very well in what I ended up doing with creating, I guess it's not a social work organization, but it's certainly an organization that's set about to help a specific sector of people.
Yeah, because I know you had a job in social services, right?
For like 9 years, I was a caseworker for social services. Then I wrote policy and procedures for the Bureau of Child Support. So there was a number of roles that I played in there, but I just couldn't do it anymore, man. I didn't feel like I was making any kind of difference. And I really wanted to paint. And my mother, being the free spirit that she sort of was, she's like, go ahead and paint. Nobody will let you starve. And then, I felt pretty confident. Russell was already doing what he was doing with Def Jam. And, in 92, when I quit my job. And I had a house that had a rental income. So I figured I'd have the house and I'd take a stab at it. So, I mean, it sort of worked out, I think.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you have to take risks in life, and also it's good to follow your passion. If you have a passion,
yeah, you got to jump in sometimes, man. You can't just if you have a passion, you should try to pursue it. I mean, it might not always work out, but you should at least try.
Yeah, you have to. So let's talk about Def Poetry Jam, because I know that you played an instrumental role in co-producing that and creating the show with your brother Russell Simmons.
Yeah, Def Poetry Jam really started at my Brooklyn gallery. I would go to poetry shows throughout Brooklyn, and then I would invite poets to come do poetry at the art gallery during art shows. And it started growing and people started loving it. And then a guy who was producing something called, I forgot the name of his, this big thing he was producing, but his name is Bruce George. He was a poet. And Bruce came to me, knowing my connection to Russell and to industry people, said, Danny, let's try to make a TV show out of this. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, Bruce, and I ain't paid no mind. But he kept coming back. So finally I said, Russell, at around the same time, had ended Def Comedy Jam. And I said, well, this would be a good thing if we sort of followed that format and plugged in poetry. Maybe we could create Def Poetry Jam. And so we asked Russell, could we use the name, because you can't just jump up and use Def Nothing, and convinced him that I would not, screw up his brand. And then we started creating showcases all over the United States. It started getting big. People were just loving it. And so we took the idea to HBO, and with Stan Lathan, we brought on as director, and he was director of Def Comedy Jam.
Right.
And so, with Stan, Russell, and myself, we went and sat down, and they sort of gave me the floor, and I introduced the concept. And we did a showcase for HBO at Malik Yorba's place, the Soul Cafe. And
Malik
they came
Yorba.
down, they saw it, and they loved it. And they were like, but we had an all-black audience. And they were like, yeah, but only black people like this? And I said, no, this thing goes, they thought it was just like a black thing. HBO was like incredibly naive. And I was like, no, man, it just happens to be this audience. So he said, okay, well, we'll give it another chance. We'll take it to the Aspen Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And so we took it to Aspen, and it was the biggest ticket at Aspen. And Steven Spielberg came, and everybody was like fighting to get tickets to this poetry thing.
Yeah.
And so HBO was like, wow, I guess it does cross over. And they gave us 7 shows to start. And then the next season, they gave us 11 shows. And then it went on to win a Tony Award. It went on to win for the Broadway play, and a Peabody Award for the television show. So it became a really big vehicle, and it gave poetry a push. The commercialization of a television show gave poetry a push, and people were doing poetry everywhere, and poetry clubs were sprouting up all over the nation. And so it was a really big deal. And then they canceled it. And I've never got a really good explanation why.
How could they cancel it? I mean, you had people like Mo Steph on there, you had Kanye, you had Martin Lawrence,
Fox,
Dave Chappelle. How could they cancel?
So many celebrities came on and did poetry, and so many huge poets, Mary Baraka and Sonia Sanchez, the last poets. I mean, it was the hottest show. People were waiting around. The best explanation I got was that it was very popular. It was their most popular show. However, it was after a certain period of time, it didn't bring any new subscriptions in. And so, since HBO is run by how many people sign up, if it's a great show and they're producing it, but it's not making them any money because it's free TV, it's not making them any money by new subscriptions. They can't continue it. And that's the explanation I got that made the most sense to me.
It was an amazing show. I mean, here in the UK, I know that people still watch Def Poetry Jam. They still like it up to today. And it would be excellent if they could revamp it and bring it back.
We've discussed it a few times, and every once in a while I'll do a reunion concert somewhere. The last big one I did was here in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. I'd like to do them in museums. And we had 800 people show up. We bought tickets in the museum lobby to listen to these poets. So whenever we do it, it's a huge hit. We have never done a reunion when it wasn't like highly anticipated. So poetry is really still very, very viable. It's still something that everybody's clamoring for. If you just watched the inauguration the other day, I wish we could go back in time and I could have that young sister who was at Biden's inauguration.
She was the youngest ever, right?
Amanda Gorman. She killed it. She was the best thing about the whole inauguration. She was absolutely amazing. And that's the type of excellence that we had on that show. She would have definitely been a deaf poet.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Without a shadow of a doubt. I was going to say to you, do you think you would open an exhibition here in the UK with your paintings and stuff like that?
All somebody got to do is ask me and pay to ship them over there, and I'll be there.
Yeah, we have the V&A Museum. Have you heard of the V&A Museum?
I have.
Why don't we contact the V&A Museum and we get you to get your stuff over here?
That would be wonderful. I'm due for an international show. As soon as this thing lightens up, I ain't trying to get on no planes anytime soon.
No.
Either I get the vaccine, which I guess is coming, or this COVID thing. I'm not trying to get it. my 99-year-old my aunt is 99, got it. Well, she got it and got better within 2 weeks.
You kidding?
She was like, she's a G. She's a real G. She got sick, had like a flu, and she was better. She was like, okay, it's done.
In 2 weeks, wow. Danny, you're also an author and you write books. In 2003, you wrote the book 3 Days as the Crow Flies. Tell us about that.
Well, that was a labor of love. I mean, I wrote that book years before that, on 4 nights of binging cocaine. And then I got clean, and I was just writing and sniffing and writing and sniffing and writing and sniffing. And I put it away, and about a couple of years later, I looked up on the shelf, and I was like, let me look at this thing again. And I read the whole thing, and it was like 1,000 pages or some handwritten pages. I mean, really. And so, you know, I had it transcribed into book. This is before computers. Somebody typed it into a manuscript, and we read it. And I got a woman to edit it for me, and I had something. And it's really the story of a Brooklyn guy, imagining myself, who was a painter who got his painting stolen by one of his friends who sniffs cocaine. And his friends takes the paintings to take them to sell them somewhere so he can cop. And he takes them to the Lower East Side, to the village where all this crazy stuff is happening in 1985 with John Michelle and everybody. And he falls into this world of art and drugs and sex and partying. And so his name is Crow, which is a euphemism of black guy, you know. And he goes down there and he meets a girl, a Hispanic girl, and they fall in love in 3 days, and they get high and they go to parties. And eventually he learns to paint because people would challenge him, these ain't your paintings. So he was like, man, listen, I can do this. This ain't nothing. So he gets in the studio and he does these paintings, and you know, over one of the nights, and he adds them to the paintings that he's stolen, and he has this big art show. And the art show's a super success, and you know, then he has to go back to Brooklyn. But he had some epiphanies along the way about the way he was living with the drugs, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And so when he comes out of these 3 days in the Lower East Side of all this wonderful stuff that's happening, and he goes back to Brooklyn, he realizes that there's 2 ways people are treated. Rich white people sniffing cocaine in the village and the art scene, and then the brothers in Brooklyn who are going to jail, who are getting beat down. It's a whole different scene. And he decides that he needs to get out of the game. And that's sort of the end of the book. And he goes into rehab.
That's an excellent book. Sounds
and then 2 years after that, it's a graphic novel published by Simon & Schuster, also called 85.
85.
And so a friend of mine, Floyd Hughes, who's a wonderful illustrator, drew it. I rewrote it to be a graphic novel, a big comic book, and we published that, and that was a hit also. So,
and tell us about Deep in Your Best Reflection.
Deep in Your Best Reflection. That was my second book of poetry. And it was really a small book of poetry. I had just learned, I resisted being, having a cell phone and all that stuff. But at the time I had a girlfriend that lived in Detroit, and we used to communicate. And so every day I would text her a poem, a little short poem. And sexy, keep her interested, keep her thinking about me. And I text this little short, sexy poem. And I had them all in my phone, and I compiled them, and I said, this is a book. This is a book of these little short poems. And it says poem, Deep in Your Best Reflection, poems in 160 characters. And that means word characters, 160 letters. So each poem has to be less than 160, or then you can't type. At that time, you couldn't text any further. And so I did this book, and people loved it. I mean, people put it on their nightstand, reading the sexy poems to their men or their girlfriends. And, you know, so that's how that book came about.
Are they available on Amazon and stuff like that?
Yeah, they're still available on Amazon.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look and see if I can.
Yeah, you can go to Amazon. My first book was my first poetry book was I Dreamed My People Were Calling But Couldn't Find My Way Home. And all these books have my paintings and my poetry in them.
I love the title. I Dreamed My People Were Calling.
People were calling but couldn't find my way home.
Love the title.
The next book was the Brown Beatnik Tomes. And it was imagining myself being, the poems were imagining myself. I was writing as if I was a beatnik in the 1950s, because I didn't really know of any black beatniks in the 1950s. There were some, but I didn't know about them. So I was typing from that mind perspective. And a famous jazz musician, Ron, after the book was published, and I gave him a copy of the book, Ron Carter. And Ron Carter and I did a collaboration one day of at a book signing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did another one that Blue Note Records taped.
Mm-hmm.
And so it came out as a CD called the Brown Beatnik Tomes. So the CD was rave reviews. It was amazing. It came out like 2018 maybe.
Fantastic.
2 years ago. And the name of it is the Brown Beatnik Tomes. So there's a book of my paintings and poetry, and then there's a CD by Blue Note Records, which is the big jazz label.
Fantastic, Danny. I was going to say, we go back to Def Poetry Jam. The fact that it was made a play on Broadway, how did you guys feel about that? That it was going to be turned into a play on Broadway?
That was really, I was involved, but that was really Russell's and Stan Lathan's idea to take it to Broadway. I was sort of against it. I thought poetry should be in a more intimate space. If it was going to be a play, it should be off Broadway. But, I want to be involved to make sure that it retained all its authenticness. A play is not spontaneous. And I felt poetry was a spontaneous thing, even though the words aren't, the how you do it and everything is always different. So, a play on Broadway has, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to say this poem, to say that poem, blah, blah. And it turned out really well. We won a Tony. I mean, but I didn't think that was the best way to present poetry. But it did bring a lot of attention to it.
I mean, I would actually absolutely love to see that the play of it. It would be.
I've never thought of it. I wondered if any of the performances were recorded. I've never checked. That's something I'm gonna check on to see if the play was ever recorded, and do we have a copy of that on somewhere.
It would be brilliant to have a look online to see.
Yeah, filmed and recorded. That would be wonderful. I'd like to see it again myself. I saw it like 1,000,000 times. I mean, I was not every performance, but at least once a week I was in the audience.
That would be absolutely amazing. Danny, we're going to go to a short break in a few seconds, and we'll be back after the break with yourself. And
okay,
we're going to
I'm gonna grab some water, but I'll be right here.
Brothers and sisters, we've got Danny Simmons on the show today, live from the USA, talking about poetry, philanthropy, and all the work that he's doing in the USA. He's a poet and author and philanthropist of the Arts Rush Foundation. Here on Revive FM 94.1 on your FM dial, Ali Kamara, Muslim poet. Be back after the break.
ये आयशा है। ये बहुत छोटी सी थी जब इसके वालिद का एक हादसे में इंतकाल हो गया। वो अपनी माँ और छोटे बहन भाइयों के साथ रहती है। आयशा जैसी लाखों बच्चियां जिंदगी की बुनियादी सहूलतों से बिल्कुल महरूम है। यही वजह है कि वो स्कूल भी नहीं जा सकती। मिनहाज वेलफेयर फाउंडेशन ने आपकी एहतियात और अपनी खिदमत दुनिया भर के यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चों के लिए वक्फ कर दी है। एक यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चे का सहारा बनिए। आज ही अतिया कीजिए। अभी कॉल मिलाएं 0300 3030 या हमारी वेबसाइट विजिट करें www.minhajwelfare.org.
You may be in contact with more people over the holidays, so it's critical we watch out for COVID-19 symptoms. Here's Dr. Karim.
Remember the signs of COVID-19, a high temperature or a sudden loss or change in your sense of smell or taste, or a new continuous cough. If you have any of these, even if you are feeling okay, you must isolate at home to stop the spread, and you must book a test immediately. You can book a test as normal throughout the festive season. Use the NHS COVID-19 app or go to gov.uk/coronavirus.
Stay alert, control the virus, save lives.
Super Best Meze Grill, the Turkish restaurant where all our food is prepared to perfection. Our mixed grill family platters include lamb shish, Adana kebab, lamb ribs, chicken doner, chicken wings and lamb chops. And all are served with rice, salad, along with a selection of our cold mezes. To see our full menu, go to superbestmezegrill.co.uk. For the perfect dining setting, visit us now at 21 to 23 Broadway, Stratford, E15 4B, or call 0208 555 335. Super Best Meze Grill.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk or contact our sales team now on 07944 565616. That's 07944 565616. Advertise with Revive FM.
If you're looking for a unique bespoke cake made especially for your big day, then look no further. Here at Sugar Sprinkle Cakery, we design some of the most imaginative and delicious home-baked cakes for your special occasions. We do fresh cream, buttercream, eggless and vegan cakes. Check us out on Instagram or Facebook at Sugar Sprinkle Cakery, or just call 07932 665 833. That's 07932 665 833.
कोविड-19 की नई तब्दील शुदा किस्म बहुत तेजी से फैल रही है। कोविड-19 से मुतासरा हर 3 अफराद में से एक में अलामात जाहिर नहीं होती हैं, लेकिन इनसे वायरस फैलता है, जो दूसरों की जिंदगियों को खतरे में डालेगा और एनएचएस पर फिर से दबाव बढ़ सकता है। वैक्सीन मुस्तकबिल की एक बड़ी उम्मीद है, लेकिन मुतासरीन की बढ़ती हुई तादाद को अभी से रोकना है। एक मर्तबा फिर हमें घरों पर रहना है, लेकिन अगर बाहर जाना मजबूरी है तो याद रखिए, हाथ धोएं, चेहरे को मास्क से ढांपें और दूसरों से फासला रखें। अपने घरों पर रहिए, एनएचएस को और अपनी जिंदगी को महफूज रखिए।
Kebabish Original, one of the biggest names in the restaurant trade. Visit your local KO to experience the thrill of the grill and the most authentic Pakistani cuisine. From our kebabs to our curries and from our mixed platters to our peri-peri, our chefs prepare your food in front of you while you wait. KO is now offering franchise opportunities. To take advantage of our proven and successful business model, contact us on 0208 446 7779 or visit kebabishoriginal.co.uk.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
on your mobile.
And online.
Here on Revive FM 94.0 on your FM dial with me, Ali Kamara, Muslim Poet. We have Danny Simmons Jr. in the studio today, live from the USA. Danny, how are you?
I'm still good.
Welcome back to the show. Danny, I want to ask you about some of the paintings that you actually draw. You give some of them like different kind of names, like Heaven's Gate and stuff like that. How did you come up with these names?
With the names? Usually, when I was telling you before, sometimes I sit and stare at them. That's usually when the names come. Very seldom do I have a name beforehand. I try to, instead of looking at what it looks like, what it makes me feel like. And so I sit and think about it and look at it, and names just usually just come to me. I mean, for this current show that I had, I painted them all during lockdown and COVID, and I hadn't titled any of them. Mm-hmm. And then when they asked me to do the show and photograph them and send them the pictures and all of this, that, and the other, I had to sit down, and it took me there was 22 paintings.
Right.
And I had to sit down and name them all. And so, I spent like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, a half an hour looking at it, trying names. I said, no, that's not quite right. No, that's not quite right. Maybe no. And then finally a name would hit me. And I'd say, yeah, okay, that's it. That's it. Then sometimes after I look at it again and I see it, and I said, no, that was the wrong name. I shouldn't. By that time, it's out in the public already. I said, well, sometimes you were supposed to be a Danny, but you ended up an author.
Is it important, Danny, to actually attach a name to the painting for yourself? Is that very meaningful for yourself?
It's more important, not for me. It's more important for the public. people like to be able to define things. I mean, my creating it defines it for me. But when somebody goes to look at something, often a name gives them cues to what they're looking at, especially with abstract paintings. So yeah, names are important in that respect. But if the painting is strong enough and it touches somebody enough, they don't need a name. They just, because I put paintings out there and just untitled. And it didn't stop people from enjoying them and buying them. But a name also, but usually is a lead into what I was thinking about or what I was trying to express or what I ended up expressing.
Okay, fantastic. I was going to say, congratulations on your new president, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. We're all very happy about that.
I'm sure people are very happy right now about the new president, and hopefully the environment can change and the feel-good factor can come back to the US.
I got a little, in the 90s, Russell and Run, Donald Trump used to hang out with a lot of hip-hop stars and artists. And, Russell and Run used to hang with him. And I never liked the man. I avoided him. Anytime he was around, I would just I'd talk to Russell and I'd say, I'm going to leave. There was something about him that was necessary. He once led, for our art foundation, he once gave us Mar-a-Lago when he first got it to have a fundraiser. And the way he dealt with things was the only person he would talk to was Russell. He wouldn't talk to anybody else. His staff had to talk to us, I guess, peons or whatever. But no, he refused to talk. He didn't want to be bothered by us. But he gave us the place. So soon as it was over, I left. And but I'm glad he's gone. I hope they put him in jail.
Yeah, I hope
he's
so.
a thief and a bad man and a racist.
I was so shocked when I saw the protesters, attacking Capitol Hill, and obviously everybody said that if it was black people, they would have shot a lot of them dead.
They wouldn't have got nowhere near the Capitol. They would have shot them in the streets, or at least they would have gassed them and shot them with rubber bullets. I'm not going to say they would have murdered them in the streets. I don't think it would have went that far, but they certainly would not have reached the Capitol and breached the Capitol. They would have been beaten, gassed, and shot with rubber bullets.
Yeah,
that's probably the scenario.
It's sad, very, very, very sad. What's your take on BLM?
Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's a great protest. I don't think, and myself, I don't think it's I came up in, let me put it this way. I came up in a different era where my slogan was Black Power. And Black liberation and this, that, and the other, which I think is a stronger statement than telling somebody my life matters. I already know my life matters. That's a message to somebody else. It's not a message to us. I think it's effective, but I don't, it's not my slogan. I will support Black Lives Matter because I think they do, the organization and the icon, Black Lives Matter, does wonders, but it's about engaging somebody else to assure them of your humanity. And please recognize that my life matters. And, for me, I think I prefer Black Power. I think it's something that I wanted to organize around, and I think it's something, and I think there's incorporations of what that movement is about in Black Power and self-efficiency, but the statement itself would not be the statement I would make as a Black man, that my life matters. I already know that. My friends know it, and we as Black people know our lives matter. So it's not about us. That's a conversation to other people,
Yeah. So you
but
grew up.
this is my personal opinion. It's not a criticism. It's just my personal opinion.
So you grew up in the era of Black Panthers.
I sold the Black Panther newspaper on the corner once a week, I would stand there, whenever it came out, I would go down to the Black Panther office, grab a bunch of newspapers, and go stand up on the busy corners of the shopping district and sell the paper for 25 cents. And when I was finished, go back to the office and drop off the papers. Drop off whatever papers I had left and whatever money I made. I helped to start the Black Student Union. We took over the school. If I had to classify myself at the time, I would say I would call myself a revolutionary.
Huey Newton, right? Was Huey Newton? Huey Newton was the leader, right? Huey Newton.
Huey Newton. Well, there was Bobby Seale, Huey Newton, and Eldridge Cleaver, and then a number of other leaders. Fred Hampton in different states, different places. The national leaders, really, the people who started the Black Panther Party, was Huey Newton and Bobby Seale.
Fantastic. So, Danny, I'd like to say, what do you think the future is for America going forward? Do you think they can put this behind them and, create a new America going forward?
Well, listen, America was. How are you for language? We have to watch our language.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so never mind. America was messed up. I'll say messed up long before Donald Trump got there.
Yeah.
Racism, hatred has been part of Black people's lives, and different religions, people of color lives for forever, since the beginning of America. Donald Trump just epitomized and made it easy for people to express that, because he expressed it in subtle ways and not so subtle ways. So it's not about, there's a lot of stuff legislatively that we can undo, and that hopefully this new administration has started undoing already. But I mean, America has a long way to go to be the place that is about its promise of freedom, equity, equal opportunity, access, all the things that democracy is supposed to embody have not been offered equally to everybody ever. So, it's not about restoring to what we lost under Donald Trump. It's about creating America that's equal opportunity and equal access for everybody. I mean, Donald Trump leaving is not going to stop a racist cop shooting a 12-year-old Black boy.
Absolutely.
So, they did it under Obama. He's a Black president. They might have killed more people under Obama, because they were mad he was there. Who knows? I mean, I don't have the statistics, but the problem is America, not just who was leading it at the time. No. So, we got a lot of work to do. It's the work my father was doing when I was 6 and Russell was 2, that he had us out on the picket line. It was the work I was doing when I was a teenager, selling Black Panther papers and being part of the Black Student Union and idolizing groups like the Weathermen and the Black Liberation Army. So, I mean, all this work still has to be done.
I'm sure.
And we have to be the ones to do it. And I'm 67, so I might not, I know I don't look it, but
no, you don't.
I mean, our young people have to understand that this is a struggle. It's been a long struggle. It's nowhere near over, and that we need to continually be engaged in challenging the system and pushing it to be a better place and better for us. So we've had now a Black president. We got a Black female vice president. These are all great symbols for us to know that we are engaged and we are becoming more and more part of the American dream, let's say. However, it doesn't mean that much for everybody. Oh.
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, a phone call came in. I'm on my phone doing it. No problem. It's not the same for everybody here, and we got to try to make it so.
Definitely. Danny, it's been absolutely amazing having you on the show today, but we're going to do a part 2. We're going to do this again.
I'd love to come back on, man. I enjoyed talking with you.
It's been amazing having you on the show. I wish you all the best with the exhibitions and everything that you've got going on in the US. And I know you do a lot. I know that you do a lot for the community, for artists. You always put on shows for artists that are up and coming and artists that are trying to find their feet, putting on exhibitions within the community. in the USA. And, you know, so I wish you all the best with that. And give my regards to Russell and to Rev and to everybody. And we'd love to have you on the show again. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show with me, Ali Kamara, the Muslim poet. God bless you. And thank you so much for coming on the show. Peace.
Peace. Thanks.
All right. Take care, Danny. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk. Alternatively,